The road to Omaha officially begins this weekend. 11 SEC baseball teams begin play in the regionals. We are here, guys, previewing everything, breaking it all down, yes, and locking in predictions as well. Guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications, check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, we're all across all social media platforms, as well as our website, Unfiltered.com. And guys, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at SeatGeek. I've seen a lot of you on social media complaining about ticket prices for the regionals. So we've got your solution. We've got your relief. Our friends at SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app. And when you do, use promo code SECU to get $20 off your first purchase. Yes, even you folks in Knoxville with those outrageous prices. I don't know if $20 is really going to help, but you could take the $20 and put it back in your pocket. So again, our friends at SeatGeek, promo code SECU to get $20 off today. Again, guys, we're previewing, breaking down, predicting all of these regionals, all 11 regionals that feature SEC teams. And I'm joined by my good friend, as always, Harrison Fant, to help me do so. Harrison, what's going on, man? The road to Omaha beginning is officially upon us. Appreciate you taking the time, my dude.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for having me. Great to be here. And we were that much closer to Omaha, that much closer to just incredible baseball with the 8 best teams in the country. It's so exciting. It's postseason baseball. Anything can happen. It's a clean slate. It's the best baseball you can ask for right now in college.
Indeed. And guys, we're going to go again, regional by regional. We're going to go in descending order. So we're going to start with the number 1 overall national seed, the Tennessee Volunteers. We'll go all the way down to the regionals that feature SEC teams that are going on the road. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into it, guys. We will start with the Knoxville Regional, the number 1 overall Tennessee Volunteers. They are the number 1 overall seed, and they will begin, Harrison, their trek trying to do something that has not been done since 1999 when the Miami Hurricanes did it. That is winning the whole damn thing as the number 1 overall national seed. The 2 seed is Southern Miss, 3 seed Indiana, and 4 seed is Northern Kentucky. Of course, guys, Tennessee will open up play on Friday against Northern Kentucky. Harrison, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on the regional and who is your pick to come out of Knoxville?
Chris, it's a good regional, and it's spicy for sure, especially with the history that Tennessee and Southern Miss have in the Super Regional last year. And Southern Miss getting a bad draw after winning their conference tournament, having to go to the number 1 national seed in Knoxville. Hostile environment. It's going to be an electric environment for sure, let alone the ticket prices through the roof. I mean, I've seen $4,000. I don't know about you, but I could sit here and watch it on television for that price for sure and pocket that. But no, it's going to be an awesome regional. Tony Vitello is going to have the balls rolling and hot to Knoxville, defend Lindsey Nelson. It's going to be awesome. And with that being said, Tennessee Volunteers, the SEC champion, the Tennessee two-step regular season and conference tournament champions are my winners of this regional here.
You know, Harrison, fun story I've never told you. I actually had a buddy of mine that I played with that his brother, he actually walked on and played at Southern Miss, and his brother went there as well and was a fantastic closer, and I forget his name. Sandlin was his last name. You might recall that name. Was a great closer. Any Southern Miss fans watching, again, the guy I was buddies with, pretty good ball player, but his brother was electric for them. So I know a decent amount about the Southern Miss program. Very proud program. They will come into Knoxville. They will give it their all. I imagine we are going to get the matchup between the 1 and 2 seed on Saturday night. That's going to be an electric game. We had all the chirping last year about, is there an Applebee's in your city, right? There's going to be some bad blood in that game. Tennessee fans are going to show up, show out. It's going to be a raucous environment. I think Indiana from the Big Ten could make some noise. I think Southern Miss, you look at them, pretty good on the mound. I just don't know, Harrison. We talked about it going in the SEC tournament week. Sometimes you can overthink things, right? I know it's baseball. Upsets happen. But, folks, don't overthink this one. It's the Tennessee Volunteers. Will they be the first number 1 overall seed since 1999 to win it all? I don't know. But we're not talking about winning it all. We're talking about winning the Knoxville Regional, and I just don't see any way, Harrison, that Tennessee does not get the job done. It's going to be warm. The wind's going to be blowing out. The baseball is going to be flying, and this is a complete Tennessee team. They pitch it. They hit it. They field it. They do it all. They're the number 1 overall national seed for a reason. They've got tons of momentum right now, and I think you're going to see Tennessee roll through this thing.
Yeah, Chris. I mean, Southern Miss is a very, really good team, dangerous team, but Tennessee just feels like a Goliath in this, and in all phases of the game, offensively, pitching, defensively. It's such a complete team and complete program right now with Tennessee. And Tony Vitelli's done a fantastic job a year after year after year being there, and fantastic hire, obviously. But they had the best leadoff hitter in the 1-2 punch in the SEC, but the best leadoff hitter in the country, Christian Moore, who it's just all SEC selection. He's fifth in the nation home run, 28. I mean, he's a Byron Buxton, Ronald Acuna type leadoff hitter, and you have to see him 3-4 times a game. It starts with that, the depth they have in the lineup behind him: Blake Burke, Dylan Dryling, excuse me, and on the mound, AJ Causey. Hopefully, AJ Russell's back and healthy and able to go, and just Drew Beam. It's just so deep all over, and it's gonna be hard to beat him, let alone beat him twice.
And Harrison, by the way, the update on A.J. Russell, according to Tony Vitello, then this coming from some Tennessee folks I talked to, he is good to go. He will be good to go this weekend, so it was not like a major thing that pulled him out of that SEC tournament game, thankfully. And
yeah,
to your point, man,
rubbing his elbow in the dugout. It's scary.
Yeah, so apparently he is good per Tony Vitello. Take it for what it's worth. Billy Amick, too, I think another guy that's going to have a big weekend. He got going late in that SEC tournament. I mean, it's just it's a murderer's row, man. And again,
that shows how deep the lineup is. I didn't even mention Billy.
Right, didn't even mention Billy Amick. Again, I think Southern Miss, it's going to be an electric atmosphere, and I think it could be a great game. I just don't see any way Tennessee does not come out on top and win the Knoxville Regional. Let's go to the overall 2 national seed, Harrison, the Kentucky Wildcats. This is the Lexington Regional, and this one is an interesting one. Of course, Kentucky, the 1 seed, Indiana State, the Sycamores, the 2 seed, Illinois out of the Big Ten, the 3 seed, and Western Michigan, the 4 seed. Harrison, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's tough when you look at it because Indiana State definitely thinks they should have been hosting, and they had a legit case to be hosting. They're top 10 RPI. I think they're the first top 10 RPI team not to host. And then after figuring that out, you got to go to the number 2 national seed in Kentucky. I mean, talk about a brutal draw for the Sycamores, but Kentucky absolutely deserving to be a host in the number 2 national seed. Nick Mingione's done an unbelievable job of the program. Their lineup, the style game they play with stealing bases, clean defense. In SEC play, they led the conference in stolen bases by 21 stolen bases. It was just unbelievable. They played clean baseball, the most quad 1 wins in Division 1. They're just so consistently good all year. It's hard to see that and do that as a team. And Kentucky's done it. I mean, they were in a similar situation the postseason last year. They go on the road, win a regional. This time they're hosting. They got a lot to play for. They got a lot of mature veteran guys: Ryan Walschmidt, Nick Lopez, Amelia Petrie. It's unbelievable how talented they are. And it doesn't feel like it's just a star-studded lineup, but they play like they are, And it's I don't want to say they're scrappy because they're that good, but they're a scrappy team. It plays just such clean baseball. I mean, it's going to be hard to see anyone beating them twice and coming out of Lexington other than the Kentucky Wildcats. So that's my pick.
That was a great thing you just did, Harrison, the excerpt there on Kentucky, and you're right, they're a fantastic ball club. I'm picking Indiana State, who I think is going to come in with a bad attitude. I want to highlight some numbers here.
Bulletin board material.
You look, I know. I'm doubting our friends in Lexington. I'm sorry, guys. Thankfully, I already did the Lexington regional breakdown with those folks, so I don't have to ask after the fact this is aired. Indiana State, 28th in the country in ERA, 4.61. They're also 29th in the country in home runs. They hit 101 of them this year. I think they're a pretty well-balanced club. Again, I think they feel like they should have been hosting. They're going to come in, I think, man. Again, we know upsets are going to happen. We know not every single SEC team is going to come out of this thing in advance. I like Kentucky a lot. I think they're a really good ball club. They've had some inconsistencies on the mound. For that reason, man, it's not going to surprise me at all. I'm going to roll with them, man. I like the Sycamores. I think Indiana State should have been hosting. Again, I think they come in here with a chip on their shoulder. Not saying Kentucky does it as well because they've caught plenty of national disrespect. Also, I think Illinois is kind of a sleeper here, Harrison. Not to maybe win the whole thing, but be a headache. Just to be a headache. I don't think they'll go 2-Q. I think Illinois will win a game. Either way, though, I think Indiana State, at the end of the day, I think they're going to upset Kentucky, and they come out of this regional, go to the Supers, and Kentucky is left still searching for that first Omaha appearance. So
yeah, Chris, it'll be definitely a good matchup, and it's gonna be an all blue final in Lexington, and Indiana State 7-3 in their last 10. Even though they lost their conference championship to Evansville, I believe, and they got the automatic bid. I mean, they're a better home run team than Kentucky and better ERA wise by half a point. So it'll be really good. But I mean, I'm not going to go against Nick Mingione and what they've proved to us all season long. And then Austin Casino, assistant coach, shout out to him for the follow on Twitter/X. I'm back in the Wildcats here.
I will take the credit for the Kentucky postseason run if and when it happens, because this is the hate they needed, right? This
might be 3 for 3 for you.
This is the disrespect the Cats needed to go on a run. Let's go to the number 3 overall national seed, this being the Texas A&M Aggies, and this is the College Station Regional, and what a fantastic regional, Harrison, this is, right? Texas A&M, of course, the 1 seed, Louisiana, the 2 seed, the Texas Longhorns, the 3 seed, and Grambling, the 4 seed. This one, Harrison, is really interesting because, you know, I feel like most regionals you look at, it's like the 2 is a 2, the 3 is a 3. This feels like 2A and 2B to me. Like, this does not, Texas is not your normal 3 seed in a regional. And granted, there's a balance here because the 3 seed that A&M drew is better than arguably any 3 seed in the country. The 4 seed is arguably any worse, and that's based off analytics, by the way. So maybe it evens itself out, but it sets up for what could be, I say, a great matchup on Saturday if we get A&M in Texas. But again, Louisiana coming in, they are a fantastic mid-major program. Harrison, your thoughts on this regional, which I think is going to be wildly competitive, and who's your pick to come out of this one?
Yeah, Chris, it's awesome to see rivalry baseball in the postseason, let alone a rivalry like Texas A&M and Texas. And to do it, if Texas can come in here in the College Station, they don't have a lot to lose necessarily that A&M kind of does. It seems like an all-win kind of situation for them. You know, they don't have that many of expectations, the hype that A&M does of hosting and then hosting your rival. So they're going to come in hot. They're going to come in looking to make some noise. They've been playing well. They're a really good program overall. But with that said, betting against Jim Slossenagel in that A&M lineup and Max Wiener's pitching staff, you're trying to get me to do that? I don't see a way that I can bet against the freshman SEC player of the year and probably freshman of the year, Gavin RHOBACK, who looks like a 3rd, 4th year SEC player, Jace Lavalette in the 2-hole, and then Braden Montgomery, an All-American player and a first-round pick for sure. I mean, they had the best 1, 2, 3 in the order in all of college baseball with the pitching staff that they have to go behind them and the clean defense they play. Going Aggies all the way. They're winning this regional in College Station.
You know, Harrison, this was one that admittedly I went back and forth on, and I wrestled with this one, right? Because this regional, I think, is going to be extremely competitive. Folks, if you're sleeping on Louisiana, you are messing up. I'm just going to say that right now.
I'm glad you mentioned it because I was just about to.
Dude, Louisiana can pitch the hell out of the baseball. I mean, they spin it as good as anybody. 18th in the country in ERA. Of course, like you mentioned, Texas A&M, they're a complete team. Like, you look at their numbers, Harrison, they look a lot like Tennessee. Like, they can beat you with offense. They can beat you with pitching. They play great defense. This is a complete ball club. But again, Louisiana can spin it. And all you need is one guy or two to step up in your pitching staff. And that's how we get upsets in these regionals, right? So I think that matchup would be wildly fascinating if we do get that one. If Louisiana beats Texas in their game, which very well could happen. I mean, again, I think that is almost an evenly matched contest there. I will not be surprised. If you told me Louisiana wins this regional, I wouldn't balk at that. If you told me Texas wins it, I wouldn't balk at that. And, of course, if you told me A&M, I wouldn't balk at that. So there was a point, Harrison, when I was making my picks. And all due respect to Grambling, you don't have a chance. Sorry.
Shout out to Grambling for being on the bus live show.
Yeah,
that was
cool. That was very cool.
Best reaction of anyone.
But there was a moment, Harrison, where I swear I think I had written down each one of A&M, Texas, and Louisiana is like, this is the one I'm picking. This is the one I'm picking. And for different reasons, I think Texas, they swing the heck out of it, right? I think if we do get that rivalry game matchup, I think that's going to be a fun offensive game. Wind will probably be blowing out there at Bluebell, and I think it'll be a high-scoring affair. With all that being said, I go back to this. To your point, and home field advantage is so important. The bubbles are going to be blowing. The ball 5 chants are going to be happening. Texas A&M is going to be in that winner's game on Saturday night. I just cannot bet against Jim Schlossnagle and the Aggies at home. I can't do it. Like you said, I can't do it, right? I cannot do it. And I just think Texas coming in the league next year, you know, there's going to be so much pressure on this is going to be a conference series. And I mean, there's nothing Texas would love more than to stick it to A&M and be like, look at this. We're already beating you in your own regional. I don't see any way A&M lets that happen. Like you mentioned, Jace Lavalette, Braden Montgomery, Targach. I mean, they've got great leadership. Again, they pitch it, they swing it, they do it all, man. So I think Texas A&M at home, even though I went back and forth, I tell you this, Harrison, I'll take it a step further. If A&M doesn't win it, I'm going Louisiana. I'm not going Texas. I'm going Louisiana, but I don't think either way. I don't know who they're going to play in that Saturday night game. I think Texas A&M is going to find a way to pull this thing out. I just don't see them losing at home, and so I think they advance the Supers.
Yeah, Chris, and Texas is 6-4 in their last 10. Louisiana 7-3, and Texas just hasn't been able to really create a lot of runs. I mean, their WRC plus, their weighted run created plus is below. It's almost 20% below average in their last 10 games. So overall in the season, they're about 24% above average. But we like hot teams going into the tournament, going into the postseason. Right now, looking at a head-to-head matchup projection-wise, just looking at some analytics, Louisiana is a -113 favorite in that first game against Texas. I think Texas does have to throw their ace, because if you don't, I don't think you can try to save your ace for A&M.
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
So
Texas
that's another big thing for me, because A&M doesn't have to throw Ryan Prager in game one. They can throw Justin Lampkin if they want, or it really doesn't matter, to be honest. But that's just what is the kind of outlook is why I don't see Texas kind of – the idea of it would be great to have Texas upset, A&M, or, be with a super regional on the line. But I just don't see – I see Louisiana probably skimming past Texas, and maybe Texas going to the loser bracket. You never know. But definitely riding with the Aggies for this one. And just the bubbles – I mean, the bubbles were in full effect in Hoover. I can't imagine we had ball 5. I think we got the ball 6 in Hoover. Can't imagine what it's like in College Station this weekend.
Yeah, Harrison, Bluebell is going to be rocking. And I want to say this too: Texas A&M went on a late season skid. I'm sure we all recall that. Lost their last couple series. Right, had a couple tough ones. Arkansas, LSU. I think Ole Miss was the inexplicable one that just did not make sense. Had a quick stay in Hoover, but
I like how they played in Hoover, though.
I want to remind everyone of something, though. LSU last year, they won the national title. They lost 2 of their last 3 SEC series last year. So all I'm saying is it does not define you. This is a brand new season. Everybody's 0-0. I think Texas A&M, they took the time. They got rested. They're going to be fresh. And so I like their chances in this one. I think Texas A&M absolutely is advancing. So let's move to the next one, Harrison. The 4 overall national seed, this being the North Carolina Tar Heels. But the reason we're talking about this one is because I just mentioned them. The LSU Tigers are going to be the 2 seed here in Chapel Hill. Wofford as the 3 seed, and LIU is the 4. Harrison, your thoughts on this regional as a red-hot LSU goes to Chapel Hill, and your prediction.
Yeah, Chris, we talked about it leading up the past couple of weeks. Whoever draws LSU is going to absolutely hate the committee. And
North Carolina's got a real gripe. They've got a
North Carolina's got to think, what the hell did we do to piss off the committee? Yeah. I mean, to get LSU, that's riding as one of the hottest teams in the country, just the second half or last third of the season they've been playing, especially in Hoover, how they've been playing, just everything seems to kind of click and come alive at the right time for them in Hoover, especially. And you couldn't have gotten a tougher 2 seed. It's unbelievable the draw they got. And then the 3 seed Wofford is no slouch at all. I mean, very, very, very good team as well. They obviously didn't play in a Power 5 conference. They ended up winning their conference, the Southern Conference, second appearance in the tournament since 2007. But they're a very good team. So I don't think you can kind of overlook them like, Grambling as much, obviously a 4 seed. But
Harrison, Wofford hit 338 this year, 3rd best in the country. So, I mean, they swing the heck out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You could say they have one of the best offenses in this regional, and this regional stacks. I mean, they steal the 6th most bases in the country. The Wofford Terriers, 144 stolen bases. Mm-hmm. They've been thrown out 20 times. The amount of pressure they're going to put on teams this weekend is going to be incredible. I mean, it's unbelievable. But to lean on North Carolina first, they have one of the most exciting players and best players in college baseball in Vance Honeycutt, who is, I mean, he's done it year after year. I mean, he's posted 2020 seasons in 3 straight seasons at UNC. He's going to be a high draft pick, probably a kind of mid-first rounder. But then you have Tommy White for LSU, probably the best hitter in the regional. I mean, he's having maybe you could say a down year this year compared to his freshman year at NC State. He had 27 home runs, then 24 last year at LSU, helping the national title. He got 24 home runs this year, but his slash numbers are still really, really strong. He's an elite power. He is maturity. He's been playing now. It's his third season. He's got a very low strikeout rate. It's unbelievable. I'm excited to see them go head to head because Tommy White used to be in the ACC, so we get another matchup of them. But then you go to the pitching side, and I'm a little long-winded here. The pitching side, you have the best pitcher in this regional on LSU's team, maybe the best rotation in LSU in this regional too, especially with how they've been pitching lately. Engaged Jump, and then Luke Coleman being the best pitcher in this regional. I mean, over his last 6 starts, he's been 4-0 with a 2.13 ERA for Jump. He's just been so strong and reliable for the LSU Tigers, and it's just that is what you have to do to win a regional. But you also need a bullpen, which North Carolina is a better bullpen, I think, just with Dalton Penn's 6 saves, a sub-2.2 ERA. It's Ben Peterson. It's such a deep regional for both teams for both reasons. But North Carolina has the edge offensively. LSU has the edge defensively, or LSU has the edge on the bats. North Carolina has the edge offensively. LSU has the edge on the mound. But just with, the consistency all year, I'm sticking with North Carolina in a winner-take-all game that is just a scratch, late-run game that their bullpen holds the line and beats LSU to go to the Super Regional.
I was wondering where you were going with that, Harrison. You were
I know. I was going back and forth trying to keep
I know. You're going with North Carolina. That's a good pick. Listen, North Carolina is very good. North Carolina is very good. Like you mentioned, they're well-balanced. They swing it well. They pitch it well. Vance Honeycutt is electric, by the way. I don't know if many SEC
He's
fans
so underappreciated, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if many SEC fans are all that familiar with him because, again, we don't really hear about North Carolina baseball all that much. But he's a fantastic player. Feels like he's been there forever for whatever reason. Anyways, great.
He was a star his freshman year. That's why.
Yeah. Good point.
And you lose your Friday night ace, Jake Knapp in North Carolina, and then you lose your next Friday night ace in Folger Bose midway through the year, and just the little rebound from that and have an elite kind of club come together. It's incredible and so impressive from UNC.
Mm-hmm. I look at this regional, Harrison, to your point. I'm glad we gave Wofford some credit. Wofford is a really, really fun ball club. Again, they swing the heck out of it. I don't know that they're going to have the pitching to really make big noise. 119.
They'll play LSU tight game 1, though.
Yeah, it'll be an offensive game. Again, I respect the heck out of North Carolina. LSU is so interesting. They make this appointment viewing TV. I mean, really, truly, the way LSU's been playing lately. And I think we don't even get enough credit, I think, to the fact that LSU was a lot better in the second half. I mean, they started the year 3-12 in SEC play. So you think about what they had to do to even get to that 13-17 mark. Right. To get to that 13-17 mark, and then what they did in Hoover, obviously, was wildly impressive. Again, this one's tough. I went back and forth. I love North Carolina at home, but I'm going to roll with LSU, man. I think they're getting hot at the right time. I really do. Luke Coleman engaged up. That's the biggest question to me. I know they're going to swing it. Are those guys going to be as good as we saw in Hoover? Are they going to be the best version of themselves? I do believe in the notion of teams heating up, going on runs, playing their best baseball at the right time of the year. I think LSU's doing that, man. And it's like we said, I think there's a reason that North Carolina was pissed off and upset with the committee. They drew LSU because they know how good LSU is and how deep they are. They're one of the most talented teams in the country. I think LSU's going to come out of this thing. To your point,
it's going to be a nail biter. I was so bad.
It's going to come down to the wire. Absolutely. It won't surprise me, obviously, if North Carolina wins this regional. I mean, they are hosting
Same
it.
With LSU.
But
they're 31-5 at home, too. They're so good at home.
Yeah. So, but I like LSU, man. I think the LSU Tigers, again, I think they're going to – I will not be surprised if game 1 with them, LSU and Wofford, high scoring. I think Wofford, again, is going to swing it. LSU, do not sleep on game 1 against Wofford because you can get beat. Make no mistake. So anyway,
Wofford's close too. They'll travel for that for
Wofford
sure.
will travel,
especially first time since 2007. This is probably one of the top heaviest regionals.
Yeah. Wofford will travel. So will the Bayou Bengals. It's going to be so much Cajun up there. I think LSU finds a way to get it done, man. That's one of my first upsets, if you will.
Shout out to Long Island though for winning the Northeast, making the tournament.
Shout out to LIU, Long Island indeed. Again, I'm going with the Bayou Bengals. Harrison going with North Carolina. Let's go to the Fayetteville Regional. Arkansas, the number 5 overall national seed, and they draw 2 seed Louisiana Tech, 3 seed Kansas State, and 4 seed Southeast Missouri, who, of course, Arkansas will open up with on Friday afternoon. Harrison, your thoughts on the regional, your pick, and what I think is so interesting to set this up. I think Arkansas fans are confident, but there's also like I'm sensing an uneasiness from Razorback faithful because they've seen this movie before and previously, Harrison. The ship has sunk, and Arkansas has just found a way to mind-blowingly lose in regionals like this. Do you think their worries are justified, or do you have the Razorbacks advancing out of this one?
Yeah, Chris, I think their worries are justified for sure, but it helps with how much better they've been playing at home this season. When I've talked about it several times, just how much better their offense is at home. I mean, it's still kind of average, but it's much better at home. They just play so well at the Bomb. It's a fantastic venue. It got voted best venue in college baseball by NCAA's fan vote, and rightfully so. I not my number one, but a very, very good pick for it. But Arkansas has just struggled in the past 10 games. They're 3-7. I mean, they're 20% worse in runs created plus, just than the league average, which is just not good. I mean, yes, they play in the SEC tournament, so that's kind of takes into account you're playing just high caliber SEC teams. Louisiana Tech comes in really, really hot, 8-2, and they're just mashing the ball. I mean, they're 85% better at creating runs than the average team right now in their last 10 games. And it's going to be really, really tough. And you have the question of, do you pitch Hagen Smith in game one? If not, what do you do? Because Brady Tiger got thrown to the pin in Hoover. We talked about it. We saw in the same game, we saw Hagen Smith start, shortest start of the season, which I'm fine with. No issues with that. Then you have Brady Tiger come out of the pin. He struggles. And then you have Mason Molina come out of the pin. That was their Friday, Saturday, Sunday rotation for most of the year. The best rotation, we called it, or the first half of the season in college baseball. That's Harrison, the thing that worries
Harrison,
me.
Not to cut you off, based off the conversations I've had with Arkansas folks, they do not expect Hagen Smith to start game one. It is going to be somebody else they're going to save him for game two.
If you can't get by SEMO without Hagen Smith, you have no.
All due respect to SEMO.
It's just the caliber of talent that Arkansas has. But yeah, shout out to SEMO. Big OVC.
I'm just giving you some hell here.
No, I'm fine with it. Yeah, it's going to be really tough. And I think La Tech's going to come in. I mean, another Louisiana school. They're going to travel well. They play very high caliber teams. I mean, they're top 30 RPI. They have no fear in playing SEC teams. I mean, they do it all the time. It's one of those things, though. I just think I don't see La Tech beating Arkansas twice. It's Arkansas's regional lose. I think they do lose a game. I just don't see them losing two and losing the regional. So I got Arkansas sneaking by out of Fayetteville on an easier regional than others.
I'll say this, Haberson, and this can be applied to the last regional we just talked about in Chapel Hill. You'd rather face the overachieving mid-major than the underachieving Power Five. That's my philosophy. You'd rather face the overachieving.
Depends on the team.
Depends on the team, but I think more often than not,
I'd
rather face the red-hot Louisiana Techs or the Louisianas of the world than
Alabama?
Get LSU as a 2 in my regional. I would rather
Alabama,
do that.
though?
Well, again, it's not a perfect system, but I would rather face. I mean, again, though, I think those teams, even though the records are not good, are you going to really sit here and tell me Louisiana Tech has more talent than any of those teams you just rattled off? Do they? I mean, maybe there's a debate. I'm not saying they wouldn't beat them in a best of 3, but do they have more top end?
You're going to tell me Oral Roberts has better talent than some of the other teams that they beat or other teams that were in super regionals last year?
But it's baseball, right? I mean, that's again, it's
a 3-game
the logic
series,
is not 100%, 100 out of 100. Either way, though, I think the worries for Arkansas are justified. I mean, I was ready to not pick Arkansas to win this regional. I think the draw is pretty manageable. And that's
if they would have gotten Duke,
right? Yeah, I mean, I would have been ready to pick Duke to go in there and beat them. Again, I think Louisiana Tech is a very, very good mid-major program. Kansas State is a solid program out of the Big 12. I mean, again, Louisiana Tech's going to come in there. There's nothing that really jumps off the page at me. 53rd in the country in ERA, 49th in home runs. I mean, okay, they swing it pretty well. 55th in average. But again,
sub 5 ERA from La Tech.
Yeah. So, yeah, to your point, this is a very high-quality program. Louisiana Tech, they're also no stranger to playing against the big boys. They do it all the time, right? I think they would probably consider themselves one of the big boys in their own minds. Again, Kansas State can make some noise. I don't expect much from SEMO at all, which is the case for most of these 4 seeds. Either way, I say all that to say I think the worries are justified. I think there's going to be some really tense moments, Harrison, this weekend because I just don't know that Arkansas's offense is going to have 3 days of great performance. I think there's probably going to be a game or two where we're looking at it, man, oh, God, it's 2-1 in the 8th inning. Is Arkansas going to be able to hold on because their offense is putting themselves or they're putting them in these positions? And then, like you said, even the pitching has been a little bit inconsistent. But I think with the time off, time to refocus, time to regroup, it's a brand new season. Arkansas still has one of the best pitching staffs in the country. They've still got a top-end rotation. I think that's what will show. And like you mentioned, Harrison, at home, they've been nearly unbeatable. So I like the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Losing 3 games at home is
yeah, 3 losses at home all year.
4.
So, yeah, 4. Okay. I expect Arkansas to play their best. Again, I think they're well-rested, ready to go. And they know what's at stake, right? I mean, this team –
Dave Van Horn does. He's one of the best coaches in the country
right.
and just the longest tenure. Like, you have to lean on him and just his coaching ability and experience, too. That's a big thing for me in this regional.
Yeah. So, Arkansas coming out of the Fayetteville Regional. Harrison, let's go to – yeah, eking it out. Let's go to the number 6 national seed, the Clemson Regional, where more importantly, the Vanderbilt Commodores find themselves once again playing postseason baseball as the 2 seed, Coastal Carolina, the 3 seed, and High Point. Shout out to High Point. Great program there. As the number 4 seed. Harrison, your thoughts on this one and who's your pick?
Yeah, my thoughts on this one is if you're going to bet on college baseball, which this isn't betting advice, and I don't think you should bet on college baseball, but bet the over in most of these games. I mean, Doug Kingsmore's not the biggest part.
Even Clemson struggles
to
pitch it. Even Clemson struggles to pitch it. And they're the freaking number 6 national seed. So to your point.
Yeah, and I mean, Coastal is just a slugfest. I mean, they're hitting balls to the beach, the Atlantic Ocean almost, it feels like. I mean, then you have Alan Espinal from Vanderbilt does the same thing. High Point, fantastic mid-major program. Shout out to them. Shout out to my boy, Cale Chatham, for two-waying it, closing on the mound, and getting them to win the Big South Conference tournament and making it here. They're a good 4 seed. I don't think you can sleep on them as a 4 seed, first off. But then you look at Clemson, and especially after hosting last year, what happened? It was kind of the same thing that UNC had. They got LSU this year. Clemson got Tennessee last year as a 2 seed. Just like you get the hardest 2 seed in probably in the nation, and you have to deal with that. And just the struggles they've had of hosting at home. I mean, you do have the most exciting player in the regional, and Canarella, outfitter for Clemson, just unbelievable bat, unbelievable in the field. He's going to be a top 25. He's going to be a 2025 top draft prospect for sure. He's so good and so consistent. I don't want to say he's a Vance Honeycutt good, but he's so good. But then Coastal has Sam Antonocci, the third baseman for them, who just mashes balls. I mean, and he doesn't strike out a lot. He gets hit by pitches a lot, and he's kind of the focal point of their offense. But Coastal is one of the most iffy and inconsistent teams in the country. I mean, they're similar to a Florida team, except the talent there's a little bit less than Florida, what they have, but just you don't know what you're going to get with Coastal. So that's why Vanderbilt, you got to pitch a stud against them, which I do want to mention is Carter Holton's available. He is available from what I've seen. Ethan McElvin, the freshman out of the bullpen lefty, who I was very high on coming the season. Carter Holton didn't pitch in Hoover. He was available apparently, but they just didn't pitch. I think he's just extra rest or whatnot. But Vanderbilt has the best starting rotation in this regional. I mean, you have Carter Holton, Bryce Cunningham. Carter Holton's the best pitcher in this regional, I'd say. J.D. Thompson, and then you have Devin Fuchel. There's no reason that they shouldn't make a deep run in this region and they have a very, very good chance to win it. I mean, that it's just all going to rely on the bats for them. And on Clemson, it's the other side. A very, very deep offensive lineup, and it's going to rely on pitching for them. But then Vanderbilt's way more cleaner on the offense. It's for me, this has been a toss-up. I've been going back and forth about this, and I just don't see it happening twice. And I think Clemson sneaks away just with the bats that outpower Vanderbilt in a game in which they lose one game, but then they don't get beat twice. I don't think it's going to happen to them twice after the bad taste they had in their mouth last season, and just how inconsistent, consistently poor the Vanderbilt Commodores play on the road.
Harrison, I can't tell you how badly I want to pick Gary Gilmore in Coastal Carolina.
In his final season, you think they were going to get left off the field of 64 with
no
the
way.
80 on
Right.
the 80 is the head of the committee in his final season? No.
I can't tell you how badly. You know, I'd love to see it. Right, as a college baseball
I would
fan,
too. Yeah.
Very familiar, obviously, with the Coastal Carolina program. They've been great, and Gary Gilmore, a legend. A legend in every sense of the word. So I think, you know, they play Vandy game 1, whoever they play the rest of the way, they're going to get Coastal's best shot. I mean, you talk about a team playing with
nothing
their
to lose.
Nothing to lose, playing with their hair on fire. Coastal, and you know, Coastal and Clemson, I think, were supposed to play in the final midweek of the season, and that game got rained out. So we could have gotten a preview of that game, and unfortunately we didn't, or a preview of Coastal being at Clemson, playing Clemson. We didn't get that.
This is a tough regional.
It is.
Very slept on.
Listen, Clemson is very, very good. They swing the heck out of it. I love Eric Backage. I mean, I think he is one of the best coaches in the game. I think Clemson hit a home run when they hired him. Vanderbilt, to your point, I think they got the best pitching staff in the regional. I liked what I saw from Vandy, obviously in Hoover. I thought the offense starting to come along. Love their catcher, Alan Espinal. That dude just drips swag all over the place. Love his game. Dude, I've been out on Vandy all year. I mean, I've sold the stock. I've sold Vandy stock more times than I can even freaking count. But I want to highlight a stat for you, Harrison. The Clemson Tigers have not been to a super regional since 2010. It has been.
What happened in 2010 again?
And the last time Clemson went to a super, they went to Omaha and they lost to South Carolina twice in Omaha. Fun fact. That's just a fact, not an opinion. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
I can't trust Vandy on the road. They're inconsistent.
I thought you were about to pull it out.
No. Listen, I can't trust Vandy on the road. They're inconsistent as all get out. But why would I trust Clemson here? We have seen this story before. Clemson has lost more home regionals than we can even freaking count. And Tim Corbin and company, they're going to cut it on in the postseason. Like you mentioned,
on Clemson.
Bryce Cunningham, Devin Futrell, that pitching staff's going to be electric. And Clemson, dude, they don't pitch like a super regional Omaha team. Vandy does. Great pitching will beat great hitting. I got Vandy coming out of the Clemson regional. I think and they've done this before. They've been in this exact spot twice and won Clemson's regional twice. Each of the last,
do they sweep the regional though, Chris?
I don't know if they swept it or not. I'm not saying they're going to sweep it, but I think they're going to win it. I think Vandy wins the Clemson regional. Put me on the record. So
you think Vandy goes on the road and plays well?
Yep. Dude, they just played well in Hoover. I mean, they just played well in Hoover.
Neutral site.
Dude, you know what? Like I said, I've sold Vandy all year. I'm buying Vandy. I promise. There's no bias in my pick.
Someone clip it.
No bias in my pick.
Let's go, Chris.
Let's go Doors.
I'm a big Vandy boy, guys. I've been to the stadium. I love the program, right? And I love the pitching staff as a former pitcher myself. It's just pitching's a little harder to travel, I think. Pitching travels a little bit better than hitting. But when you're hitting your home ballpark and as loud as Clemson is offensively, I mean, they lost the series to Florida State. They got swept by Florida State at home. They were about to get swept by Florida State at home. They came back in all 3 games late, down 8-3, 9-1, and 9-2, I believe, and won those games late in the game. It's a top team. I mean,
Harrison, put me on record. Not only do I think Vandy wins the Clemson regional, I'm not going to necessarily pick it. I will not be surprised if High Point upsets Clemson game 1.
I was just about to say, High
will
Point
not be surprised.
They're going to throw their ace. They're
will not be
a very
surprised.
Scrappy team. I think you can't take them lightly. I think High Point doesn't go 0-2 for sure. No shot they go 0-2.
Give me the Doors, man. Give me the Doors. You got Clemson. All right, cool. Let's keep it moving. We are going to go to the Athens Regional. Postseason baseball is back in Athens as the Georgia, number 7 overall national seed. They host this thing. The Georgia Bulldogs, of course, is the 1 seed. UNC Wilmington, the 2 seed. Georgia Tech, the 3 seed. We got clean old-fashioned hate in the postseason. And Army as the 4 seed here. Harrison, your thoughts on this regional as Georgia looks to punch their ticket to a super for the first time since 2008.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good regional. I definitely think that Georgia,
and you may be boots on the ground. Per sources, maybe.
Per sources,
We'll
we might be boots on the ground. It's TBD. It's going to be a game time decision.
We might be boots on the ground in Clemson, which could be scary if that previous clip does indeed get clipped. Continue.
Oh, I hope so. Now I forgot about that. So I don't know what Athens and Wes Johnson and crew had to do, but I think they got the easiest draw of all the regionals. Go ahead and clip that off as well. I mean, a bubble team in Georgia Tech to get to be a 3 seed, and then I think an overseeded UNCW, very good team, I think for sure. The CAA, say it again, should have been a 2, if not 3 bid league. College of Charleston should have gotten in. It should not have been a question if they got in, but they won the regular season and they lose the conference tournament to UNCW at UNCW, to take note. But UNCW is a really good team, right? And I think they have a better pitching staff than Georgia, right? So they have the best pitcher in the regional in RJ Sales. Just all respect to Colton Smith. He's been phenomenal second half of the season, but RJ Sales has been doing it consistently all year long. He's got a sub 3.4 ERA, opponent batting average almost 200. He's not a high strikeout guy, but he just gets outs. He executes. He's a low kind of, just a scrappy kind of crafty pitcher that isn't going to overpower you, but he's a very, very good pitcher. Colton Smith, another really good pitcher for Georgia, but just the depth behind them is the kind of curiosity. And Charlie Goldstein, I wonder how he's going to bounce back, because he left his last start that I watched actually in person against Vanderbilt early. He was dealing versus them and dicing them. But then you have Charlie Condon, right? The best player in college baseball right now, having the best season. And the depth around him has grown so much, right? Trey Phillips, freshman DH, who's going to be the stud and star of Georgia and possibly one of the studs of the SEC in the next year or two. And you have Colby Collins, and you have just such a deep lineup up top too that has support him. He's having one of his best career years for sure. And you have Fernando Gonzalez there catching the 9-hole, who can mash the 9-hole, right? We know how Georgia's offense is just so powerful and so deep and has really grown, and how no one picked him to be in a situation, Chris. I mean, did you expect him to go to a regional this season?
Listen, we did an Athens regional breakdown with a Georgia guy, and he echoed that. Nobody around that program, maybe outside of the guys in the building, and maybe not even all of them believed it. No, nobody saw this coming. It's been an unprecedented run for Georgia to this point.
Yeah, and I think they're going to have to remember that, and Wes Johnson's going to say, hey, no one expects us to be in this situation. No one expects us to be here. We're here. We still have more to prove. That's just the style and coach that he is. And I think they want to play Georgia Tech for sure, especially after the last game of that 3-game series. Clean old-fashioned hate. We love rivalry baseball in the postseason. That game got canceled. They're up 9-3 in the fifth inning. So I don't know if they're going to play Tech or not, but I think they want to. But I just think they got the easiest draw of the regional, and just the bats are going to overpower. They're playing at home in Foley Field. I think the ball is going to fly. And I think they just slug. Georgia Tech, they outslug UNCW and kind of get to their bullpen. Army might has the most consistent rotation, but I don't see them, causing any threat in this. Georgia has no reason to lose this regional, and so that's my pick.
I definitely think, to your point, Harrison, Georgia got one of the most manageable draws when it comes to regionals. My biggest question with the Dogs is the pitching. There's no surprise there. They're 113th in the country in ERA, a 5.71 mark. Georgia Tech's even worse, 207th with a 6.65 ERA, and UNCW can spin it pretty well. So I could see UNC Wilmington being sort of a headache. To your point, though, man, you talk about Charlie Condon. He's only a small piece of what they do. Colby Collins, I think last time I checked, he was leading the country in on-base percentage. People don't even realize how good he's been.
Slade's been incredible, too.
Yeah, Slade Alford's a fantastic player as well. They got plenty of guys around him to protect him. I think the way Charlie Condon's pitched is going to be fascinating, because you don't want that guy to beat you, but they've got so many other guys too. It's going to help manufacture runs and generate runs, because if you put him on, you're just putting more guys on base, right? So
I think he gets intentionally walked at least 2 times this regional.
Yeah, for sure. So, to your point, Harrison, I am going to go with Georgia as well. I just think, again, at the home field at Foley Field, and I think Foley is going to be a little bit more raucous than folks realize it can get. I think it's going to be a good crowd, good atmosphere. I don't know. I don't think it's this round the pitching comes up to bite Georgia, and I think they are equipped to win. If they got to win a game 12-10, they can do it. Now, is that a good long-term plan, going to Supers and trying to get to Omaha? I don't know that it is, but You haven't been to a Super since 2008. This is a golden opportunity. You're a top 8 national seed. I just don't see Georgia missing out on that opportunity. Like you mentioned, Harrison, a big reason because if they had drawn Duke as the 2 seed, well, that's a different story. I think we maybe, we're having some different combos. But with UNCW, Georgia Tech, and Army, I think it's a pretty favorable draw. And so I do think Georgia advances. Before we get off this one, Harrison, I'll ask you, who
or
finishes
Nebraska,
the week?
I mean.
Or Nebraska, yeah. Who finishes the weekend with more home runs, Charlie Condon or Drew Burress?
So for me, that's an easy one. And Drew Burress is going to be up there for sure. And you're going to have one of the best 2-way guys in this regional in Cam Jones, a utility guy for Tech, who plays both ways and mashes a lot too. But it's going to be Charlie Condon, just with the number of at-bats he's going to get. Because they're such a high-powered offense, they're going to be scoring a lot of runs. He's going to have 5, 6, 7 more at-bats than Drew Burress. So for me, it's easy. It's Charlie Condon in this one.
I would go Charlie Condon as well. To your point, I think Georgia's going to play more games, bottom line. So I think he's going to get more opportunities. I'm going to go Charlie Condon. I set the over-under at 2.5, and I think that's a pretty good number because I'm thinking
home runs.
Yeah, home runs on the weekend.
All right, over-under
2.5 for Charlie Condon specifically. Yeah. So
over-under 2.5 intentional walks for Condon.
I'd probably go over intentional walks and under home runs, and both of those you can explains why. I put it that way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to go 3 and 2.
Yeah, fair enough. Right at that number. That's pretty solid. All right, let's go to the Tallahassee Regional. So we just taught Harrison all the SEC teams that are hosting. We got those out of the way. How about the teams? Or actually, we'd also taught Vandy, who's going on the road. The rest of these going on the road, SEC teams that are sort of flying under the radar, trying to pull upsets, if you will. The Alabama Crimson Tide in the Tallahassee Regional go on the road, right? Florida State hosts this thing. They are the number 8 overall national seed. Again, Bama as the 2 seed, UCF as the 3, Stetson as the 4. Again, Bama the only team in this regional not from the state of Florida. Harrison, your thoughts on the Tallahassee Regional and who comes out on top?
Yeah, I think it's a really good regional. I mean, I like seeing all the Florida teams together. I mean, I would have liked to see some variation as well, just because of how much the Florida teams play each other. Mid-majors, playing Florida State, Miami, midweeks, and also maybe a weekend series here and there. So I don't mind it, but it would have been, nice to see some other teams. But Alabama, we were shocked, like we talked about, for them to be a 2 seed after just the way they kind of ended the season and go one and done in Hoover. I mean, I think most people had them projected to be a 3 seed. So Florida State's probably happy to see that instead of LSU as a 2 seed. With that said, doesn't mean Alabama's a bad team at all. I mean, they have Gage Miller. He's probably the most versatile player in this regional on the offensive side. I mean, he's their best hitter. He's leading the team in RBIs, I believe. He's almost 20 home runs. He's almost batting 400. And then you have the best defensive player for Alabama as well. It's Justin LeBron. I mean, he's a human highlight reel. He's one of the top defenders in the SEC. And it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of pitch this regional and how they kind of go about it, because UCF's not a slouch at a 3 seed. I mean, they've been very, very good this year. And they have a really good starting rotation. They have a deep rotation as well. You got Dom Stelagno. So I think he'll probably throw game 1 against them, because you don't want to go 0-1 to start. So they're going to give Bama their best shot. So, I mean, with that, you have Florida State sitting there as the 1, and they're 4 seed. I mean, you could have gotten a worse 4 seed, because I think Stetson might be the best 4 seed in the country. I really do. I mean, they play all these Power 5 teams all the time, right? Their coach is so passionate. We saw it for non-SEC fans. We saw it in the conference tournament, getting face-to-face with Austin Peay's head coach. He let them know on Twitter, too, saying little premature for saying conference champions when they ended up, spoiling that, we'll say. But I just don't see Bama going to the finals in this. And with that, I have Stetson going to the finals, but losing to Florida State because of the offensive power they have. They're not going to get past Jamie Arnold, the best pitcher, one of the best pitchers in the ACC and the best pitchers in the country. I mean, he's 10-3 with a 2.45 ERA in 15 starts. I mean, he's just been so dominant this year. In 88 innings, he's got 135 strikeouts and only 20 walks. I mean, he's upper 90s and just has a dominant off speed. He's kind of like a Chris Sale. He's got this huge wipeout slider. I don't think Stetson touches him, he goes 6, 7, maybe 8, and then the offense behind them is just going to outswing Florida State. Is the biggest thing, and the offense for Florida State is going to outswing Stetson. I mean, just that rivalry of being, Florida teams, and kids that on Stetson that, didn't get recruited by Florida State, but want to show and ball out. They're going to do their best. But I just think Florida State's too much power, too much depth behind Jamie Frere, Marco Dings, and just, I mean, it's so stacked. Max Williams, I mean, they're so stacked, and Florida State has a really good shot to win this regional and go sweep it too.
Harrison, I thought you were going to go Stetson there to win the Tallahassee regional for a second. I was like, holy smokes. Okay, we got a 4 seed. To your point, man, not only do I think Bama doesn't win the regional, I think they go 2 in Q. I think Bama's going to be done quickly. I'm not a believer in Bama. They've been wildly inconsistent. I mean, they've got some power arms, but
they've had like almost 2 weeks off too.
They've had a long time off. Did not obviously look good in Hoover, went 1 and done. I think UCF, like you mentioned, a wildly intriguing 3 seed. I'm going to tell you this, too. The reason I think Bama goes 2 in Q, one of the reasons, baseball in Florida is different. I don't know if people realize this, but like, dude, when you play like Division II baseball, like there's D2 teams that could beat D1 teams because in the state of Florida, because the depth of talent in that state is crazy. Like,
and they're going to have to throw Greg Ferrone game 1.
Yeah, like the level of baseball in the state of Florida, like it is for real. So like even these teams like Stetson and UCF, they're good enough to beat Bama. I think they will beat Bama. But simply put, Harrison, I could summarize this. Florida State's a great team. If you think I'm betting against the magic of Mike Martin, you are out of your freaking mind. So I'm going with Florida State here. I think they're going to cruise through the Tallahassee regional. Not to say the games aren't going to be competitive, but I think they're going to win this thing. I don't think they're going to lose once. I do like Stetson, though, as a sleeper pick. That is a fun one. Again, Stetson's not going to be intimidated. They're going to give him their best shot. But again, magic of Mike Martin, I'm going with FSU. And I just, Bama, man, I haven't seen enough from Bama to go into this with any optimism for the Crimson Tide. So that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, and this is Florida State's first year. Last year was their first year missing the NCAA tournament since 1977.
Yeah. So I think they'll bounce back in a big way. Yeah, again, magic of Mike Martin. Don't sleep on it. Let's go to the Raleigh Regional, Harrison, where the 10 overall national seed NC State will be hosting an SEC team. The South Carolina Gamecocks will be the 2 seed in this one. James Madison as the 3, Bryant as the 4. And Harrison, I do want to point this out, by the way. You had our friend, who did you have on from College Baseball Insiders? It was
Matt Grissom.
Matt Grissom, yes, indeed. Sorry,
Shout out Matt Grissom.
Had a brain fart there. Yeah, that was a great conversation, by the way. A lot of you guys enjoyed that. Either way, I was looking through his numbers. South Carolina is actually the betting favorite to win this regional. So
last I checked, it's even money right now. I think they're both at plus 105.
Okay, even money.
Earlier today.
Do with that what you will. Harrison, your thoughts on the Raleigh Regional and who comes out of this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is I think a good regional draw for South Carolina. You could have gone to Clemson, which is I think the last place you wanted to go to, and we saw the reaction for when they found out they weren't going there. And NC State's been a kind of, I don't want to say inconsistent team, but a little bit of wild and kind of chaotic. But they have great series wins this year. They have series wins versus Duke. Yes, they lost to Louisville, but they have series wins versus Duke, UVA, FSU, UNC. I mean, just they Wake Forest too. I mean, just these studs of the ACC, right? And just these power dominant teams that are deep too. And that's the biggest thing. And just the magic that happens in Raleigh. I mean, the atmosphere that Wake Forest series I watched, just it looks like a regional atmosphere, and just it felt like everything was heightened. It was a huge series. The fans were in it. Just the boys were so locked in, every pitch, excited, and just to come out of that series a win, just the momentum they brought into the postseason is such a critical factor. I mean, South Carolina, similar way, they've been playing. They kind of had a hot theory going on, short in the middle of the season. I think part of that was scheduling. Mark Kingston spoke about that as well to me, and they played really well in Hoover, right? We were wondering if they had a playing game against Alabama, which they played well, and then they go on this run. They were the only team that played LSU tight, Chris, in Hoover. And they had an opportunity to beat him twice. And you're wondering to see what happens with Gavin Casas and his injury. Hopefully he comes back, because I think that's a little bit of some hole in the lineup, and that it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of gets worked around and what his availability is. But the depth of the mound is a concern for me. It proved better in Hoover, but just the lack of consistency that there is there, and just the bats that NC State has, I think it's going to be a high scoring kind of into the regional. I'm not saying like a slugfest, but I think it's going to be just a lot of gap shots, base runners, and just opportunities to knock guys in. I just think that the momentum that NC State has to play in this regional, host this regional, I think they scrape out of this one and win it over South Carolina.
Harrison, let it be known, none of these teams in the Raleigh Regional pitch worth a shit. I mean, none of them do. I mean, like let's just call it for what it is. None of them really pitch it all that well, right? So
I think South Carolina wins the first one, though, against NC State.
If you like runs and you like betting overs, this is probably the regional for you, at least one of them, because I think there's going to be a lot of high-scoring games. I think
we're a weaker 3 seed. They were on the bubble getting in. I didn't think we were going to get in.
Yeah, so I think if you like runs, I think we're going to see a lot of that. To your point, I know the NC State, Harrison, has been, 33-20 overall. Like, that's kind of one of the weaker records, I feel like, of these national seeds. But again, they beat everybody in the ACC that is the best of the best. They really did. They had the third strength of schedule. It's crazy, though, Harrison, they're the 10 overall national seed, and they are 171st in ERA. I mean, I'm talking about nobody in this regional pitches. So I think we're going to see a lot of runs scored. I'm going to say this right now, Harrison. I'm going to say this right now. And I'm going to say the quiet part out loud, because I don't think anybody else that's followed South Carolina baseball in any capacity is brave enough to say it. The best thing that can happen for the South Carolina baseball program and the future of the program is to go 2 and barbecue. It's the best thing. And you can kick and scream and get upset and you can say whatever you want. But Harrison, if they make the supers, Mark Kingston is coming back. And that would be worst case scenario. I'm going to just lay that out there. So here's the good news. I don't think you're going to have to worry about that, because to your point, man, I know it was a magical run in Hoover. The question is, will Cole Messina swing it out of his mind again? Will Ethan Petrie?
He's the hottest hitter in baseball right now.
He's the hottest hitter in baseball who just got a week off. So, baseball, it is a game of, he wished he was playing every single day, right? So, does he come back and he's the hottest hitter in baseball after a week off? Or is it Ethan Petrie? Or is it somebody else in the lineup? Can they bank on that? Somebody just swinging it out of their minds. I don't know that they can. And if they don't have that, they don't have the pitching depth or the pitching in general to make the run necessary, I think, to get to the super. So with that being said, Harrison, again, I think the baseball gods, I don't mean to speak for you baseball gods, but I think the baseball gods, they want to see South Carolina baseball return to prominence. The only way to do that is to have a change at the top. And the only way to do that is to have an early exit. I think it happens. And I think NC State advances. I think South Carolina will get beaten in this. I think James Madison could make some noise, but to your point, actually, I think Bryant's probably got a better chance to make noise than James Madison. Bryant as the 4 seed, kind of interesting. But again, I think it's going to be, and here's the thing though, Harrison, this is a tough regional to predict, because when you have the lackluster pitching that we're inevitably going to get this weekend, who knows? Really, truly, who knows? You know what I mean? When you got, because I don't know if any of these teams have really got a bunch of guys they count on to come shut the door. So I think we're going to get a lot of runs. I just don't trust South Carolina's pitching staff at all. I think they will get knocked out, but I do think NC State, the 1 seed, again, like you mentioned, they've been in these big spots before. They'll have a great crowd. I think NC State, scratch, claw, find a way to outscore the competition and win this regional.
Yeah. And Chris, when you talk about pitching, South Carolina's really going to have to lean on Ty Good, Garrett Gainey specifically, and Chris Beach specifically even more.
Who starts game 1 for them? That's
Garrett. I think Garrett Gainey starts game 1.
Okay.
You start Garrett Gainey.
Okay.
Yeah, and you go Eli Jones game 2, but then you try to not use Chris Beach in game 1 against JMU and have him to be able to go as long as needed against NC State. The pitching obviously has been a struggle for both these teams, these NC State and South Carolina respectively, and the hitting's been kind of the forte of the season and kind of the MO. South Carolina, yeah, they're 3-7 in the last 10, but their WRC plus, their weighted runs created plus, is almost 50% better than league average. In 3-7, that just shows you how strong the hitting is behind Cole Messina. Like you said, seeing beach balls at the plate. Unbelievable. I think he gets intentionally walked at least once this weekend. But NC State, they're 7-3 in their last 10. So, they're not riding on an absolute heater, but they're not coming in slow. So it's just one of those things, that depth on the offensive side, consistency in those winning in those close games and late game situations and those clutch moments that NC State's had this year for me is pushing over the ledge for them to win this regional.
So we both got NC State advancing out of the Raleigh Regional. Harrison, let's go to Stillwater, the Stillwater Regional, where Oklahoma State, the number 11 national seed, will host 2-seed Nebraska, 3-seed Florida, and 4-seed Niagara. Harrison, your thoughts and who comes out of this one?
Yeah, another team that you do not want to see as a 2-seed was, or I guess 3-seed in this, Florida, right? Just we were wondering if Florida was going to get in or not, and that was the biggest thing. But this is a deep regional, I think. And I think the ball, if you like betting overs in college baseball, this is going to be a great one that you're going to want to bet on and look at for sure, the lines, unless they're kind of too juiced, that Matt and I talked about. Just the ball's going to fly. It's going to fly out here in Oklahoma. It's just the slugging that Oklahoma State has, Florida State sluggers they have, or so the Florida sluggers they have, and the Nebraska sluggers that they have. It's just, I mean, no disrespect to Niagara. Shout out to them for making the tournament. I just don't see them doing any damage just with the kind of high intensity of talent and offensive production that these other teams have. I mean, obviously this regional has the most exciting player in college baseball, in Jack Caglione. I mean, we've harped on it every week how great he's been and how unbelievable just of a career he's had. And I'm glad to see him in the postseason. It's great because we get to see him one more time, right? And his season doesn't end yet. His career doesn't end at Florida State, or at Florida, excuse me, again. But the thing is, when do you pitch him? I mean, do you pitch him game one against Nebraska, or do you try to, go Pierce Capella or Liam Peterson in game one and try to save for Oklahoma State? In my mind, you pitch Jack Caglione game one. You play like your back's against the wall going into game one. And Nebraska's a very, very good team. And the Big Ten got 3 bids, I believe, this year, 3 strong bids. And it's going to be such a tough test for all 3 of these teams. I mean, but for Oklahoma State to host a regional, they've been one of the hottest teams in the country. They have one of the kind of biggest X factors of any team, I think, in the country as well. Top 5 X factors, you could say, in Carson Benji, just another 2-way star, which is gonna be really cool to see Caglione and Benji go against each other. Carson Benji is just unbelievable. When he's not pitching, he's just in right field and locking it down, right? And he hits bombs too. He's only got 17 home runs, 62 RBIs though, but he's always on base and he's batting almost 350. He's such a good athlete and such a good player. And then to do that on the offensive side and the bats they have around him, but the starting rotation is the biggest thing for me. The inconsistencies that Florida has had all season on the mound. I thought that they would, kind of slug their way a little bit through the SEC tournament. Didn't happen. But Oklahoma State, I mean, Big 12 champions, and their starting rotation is deep after not returning their 1-2 guys from last year. It's just so good to see how strong they're playing. Their ballpark is unbelievable. I don't know if you've seen it, Chris. I've never been, but the renovations they did to it, it's one of the nicest ballparks in America. It is beautiful, beautiful. And just their bullpen, I mean, their entire pitching staff, they have the best pitching staff in this regional, up and down. And you could say the most consistent offense. And so with that, consistency plays throughout the season and consistency plays in the postseason, let alone playing at home. Yes, the pressure's on them at playing at home, but I don't see Florida, I don't see Nebraska beating them twice at home with the best starting rotation and bullpen and then their offensive depth. Give me the Cowboys.
Yeah, Harrison, I'm going to go do the finger guns. I'm going to go Oklahoma State as well. Finger guns.
Hey, Pistol Pete, baby, Pistol Pete.
Yeah, I'm going to go Okie State as well. And to your point, the thing you mentioned that jumps out to me, 11th in the country in ERA is Oklahoma State, 4.12. Nebraska actually 22nd with a 4.45, so they pitch it pretty well as well, but they nowhere near match up with Okie State on the offensive side. Okie State 111 home runs, which is 15th in the country. Hit 283 as a team. I mean, again, they were really good all year, 40-17 overall, 24-10 in their conference, 11th RPI, 26th strength of schedule. Of course, Florida had the number 1 strength of schedule. I'm excited, Harrison, that we get to watch Jack Caglione one more time. But to your point, I just, man, Florida has been so we've been the difference with Florida and LSU. Like with LSU, at least we just saw it and we saw them kind of come on strong. Like, have we seen that at any point with Florida? Like they've just been kind of scuffling all year, and I don't see them all of a sudden finding some miracle juice and cutting it on right now. And so the thing I'm most intrigued with Harrison, like you mentioned, do they pitch Jack Caglione game 1? I think they almost have to. I think that
especially when you know who's pitching for Nebraska. Brett Sears will probably pitch game 1.
Right.
He's the best pitcher in this regional, probably.
Yeah,
I mean, he's 9-0 with a 2 ERA.
Yeah, this isn't a situation where you can save anybody for any game. Like Nebraska will handle you if you do not pitch it well. So I don't think it's going to be Florida. I don't trust Florida at all. I think Nebraska would have a better shot to win this regional than Florida would.
I agree.
Being
And
frank, so.
looking at the matchup head to head in that first game for Florida against Nebraska, when you have Brett Sears starting against Jack Callejon, Nebraska's minus 153 with a 61% chance to win the game. So, I mean, I do think Cags hits at least 2 home runs in this regional, and it's gonna be one of them is probably gonna be 480 feet. It's just gonna be an absolute nuke, but it's not gonna be against Brett Sears, I don't think.
No. So again, we're both going finger guns. Oklahoma State to come out of Stillwater. And guys, the final regional that features the SEC, there is 11 of them. And again, we broke them all down here. If I can just pull this up. Tick tock, as we wait on the regional screenshot. By the way, you mentioned the Big Ten. Harrison, I did want to highlight this. Talking about teams overrated from the Big Ten. What happened to Iowa this year? I mean, good God. I had so many
biggest fall off of any team in college baseball.
I had so many college baseball experts telling me how good Iowa was going to be, and it just did not happen. Okay, I don't know. For whatever
I'll go ahead
reason.
And talk about it while you're bringing it up.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So we're talking about the Charlottesville regional, right?
Yeah.
With Virginia hosting Mississippi State, 3-seed St. John's. Shout out to Johnny's for making it. Shout out Pennsylvania for winning the Ivy League and getting in. They're not the best team in the Ivy League, I don't believe, but they obviously did win it. St. John's, good 3-seed. I don't see either one of them doing any damage. It's going to be a clear-cut come down to it, winner-take-all for the Super Regional of Virginia in Mississippi State. And, boy, it's going to be such a good matchup. I mean, Virginia has one of the best offenses in the ACC and in the country, just depth of it.
There we go.
And then you have Mississippi State with one of the best starting rotations. Probably, I think the best start, like full rotation, if not top 3 in the SEC right now, with Cal Stevens starting game 1. Drangelo St. John, the both-handed pitcher who, unfortunately, I do have some gripe when he pitched in the last game I saw in Hoover on Thursday, he only threw right-handed. I was so disappointed.
Only had his right-handed glove. Yeah, he didn't have the both-handed glove. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a little frustrating with that. Sitting scouts, they wanted to see it as well. And, I mean, he's just electric. He's been electric all year. Just the consistency that him and Cal have been going 6+, it feels like every outing, which is sub-3 ERA. It's just incredible. And then you have Brooks Iger, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Iger, who is there now, I guess, their number 3 guy in the rotation, who absolutely dominated Ole Miss in a rivalry game in a huge matchup against them in just a one-and-done situation. And they ended their rival season. I'll say it again. They ended their rival season on the backs of that and Connor Heinzak walk-off home run. Unbelievable. They should have hosted a regional. They had a huge case to host a regional. ECU ended up getting it, just with some controversy that with ECU having a member of their, I think their athletic director was on the committee. So which is a whole other issue we could get into, but we're not going to. Just the depth they have on the mound. And like I said, like you and I talked about before earlier in the week, Dakota Jordan and Hunter Hines just going, I think, 2 for almost 30, it felt like, in the SEC tournament, and how well they played, I think, in Hoover. It's just the offensive production around it. Gives me faith that that's not going to happen again. Right, the week off's gonna give them a little reset. I just don't see that. The 2 of the best hitters, their 2 best hitters on the team, I don't see them doing that 2 weeks in a row, and just adding to the depth of the power of their lineup. Yes, Virginia has a much better offensive lineup and consistency. It's going to absolutely match. It feels like Charlottesville hosts a regional every year now, Chris. The past 5, 6, 7, 8 years now, and it's going to be a loud ballpark for sure. Mississippi State's definitely going to travel. They're going to travel well. They're going to represent the dude. They're going to represent Hale State. And it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. That game is going to be a winner-take-all as well. And I just think the depth on the mound for Mississippi State is what puts them over the edge with saving their bullpen too earlier in the regional. Puts them over the edge to be able to lock down and kind of shut down enough of Virginia, the Cavalier offense. I don't think it's going to be a lot, but it's going to be like a kind of 7-5 game. And I just think Mississippi State goes into Charlotte and wins this regional in a winner-take-all. It's super.
Harrison, I love that pick. Again, Charlottesville Regional, the number 12 Raw National seed. is the Virginia Cavaliers, and they've been very good this year. And it's a Virginia team, again, a proud program, great history and tradition. I think what surprised me most, Harrison, was looking at this regional. When I think of Virginia, I typically think of like dominating pitching and not necessarily scoring as much. It's been the opposite this year. I mean, they're 112th in the country in ERA, and they're outside of the top 100 in basically every single pitching statistic you can think of. I mean, they haven't been very good on the mound, but the way they swing it, they're fourth in slugging. They're second. They're second in average. They hit 341, Haberson. They hit 341. They're sixth in on-base percentage. They're ninth in home runs. They're 12th in K percentage. I mean, every offensive stat and category, Virginia, really, really good, right? So it's not when I think of Virginia baseball, like your typical Virginia, where again, they're going to pitch the heck out of it. They've got a couple, future big leaguers on their
something they've done when they've won the national championship, and
right?
lost in the finals.
They've always seemed to have those guys on the mound, and they don't this year. And pitching travels, and great pitching beats great hitting this time of year. And like you mentioned, and by the way, before I talk about state, the Penn Quakers, the 4 seed, could make some noise. Do not underestimate Penn. St. John's, maybe, but I think Penn is the 4 seed, can make some noise. But Mississippi State, Haberson, like you mentioned, chip on the shoulder, they should be hosting, period, end of discussion. Should be hosting.
The dude deserved it.
The dude deserved it. I loved what I saw from State, not just in Hoover, but really throughout this entire season. They've got the top-end talent to beat virtually anyone. And I think that pitching depth, and I think they've got a couple dudes in that lineup. Connor Hyzak leading the way. Dakota Jordan, Dalton Hines, clutch. I think they're clutch. I think they're going to play clutch baseball. I think the pitching depth will be the difference. Virginia, great lineup. They swing it. Great pitching will beat great hitting in this regional. I think Mississippi State, that's a great pick, Harrison, because I'm taking Hail State as well to move on.
Yeah, it's going to be on the backs. And shout out Connor Hyzak, just an awesome person, an awesome guy to talk with, and just historic now in Hail State in their baseball history for sure. For Dakota Jordan and Hunter Hines, they have to get going to win this, or else they don't have a shot.
Have to.
And Dakota Jordan has to stop striking out as much as he does. He's one of the highest strikeout guys in the SEC, and it's just he's so athletic and so strong and just fluid, but he needs to compress the zone a little bit and just find his pitch and kind of not get in a hole, and then expand the zone and chase. And Hunter Hines, we know how clutch he is, how clutch he's been. I mean, just 2 home run games, 2 like walk-off home run. It felt like he's just this big moment player, and that's what big moment players do. They step up in a situation like this. Virginia's offense, incredibly good and consistent. I mean, they had a 30% better WRC plus than the average team. Mississippi State 15% better. UVA's they're coming hot, right? 7-3. They're hosting regional. It's something that they're used to. They're comfortable. Mississippi State has bulletin board material. They don't have the pressure of hosting that UVA does, and they're hosting one of the best 2 seeds in the tournament, I believe, at Mississippi State. Pitching travels, and that saving that bullpen is gonna be huge. I'm telling you, it's gonna come down to having a fresh arm at the bullpen late in a winner take all and getting a huge out against. I don't even know who UVA's on. It's gonna be someone with like a runner in score position, and it's gonna be a momentum shift, and it's gonna win it for State.
Hail State. Both Harrison and I going with Mississippi State to come out of Charlottesville. Guys, that's all 11 of the SEC regionals, breaking it all down. Harrison, we got through it. And if you want to know our full picks, I got a good feeling Harrison and I've got a bracket sitting on my desk over there that I'm going to be filling out. I'm sure Harrison does as well. You may or may not see our full field of 64, every single regional predictions. But again, we wanted to go through these preview, predict every single SEC team in their regionals, whether they're hosting or not. Harrison, this was a lot of fun. Last thing before we get out of here, if you had to pick one, the regional that you are most excited to watch, and it can be for any reason.
Yeah, Chris, and it just happens to be so. It's the regional that we didn't talk about. One of the 2 regionals I believe we didn't talk about. It's going to be the Tucson regional out west, Pac-12 hosting. Just the season that Arizona's had, they were picked 7th, 8th, and most people to end in the Pac-12 final standings. They go out and 2-step it. They West Coast 2-step it, right? They win the regular season tournament, their championship. They win the conference tournament on a walk-off against Southern Cal, SC, not USC. And just in the Pac-12, like last call, like down a walk-off, the momentum that they're coming in with, and just how strong they come together. I mean, West Coast baseball is awesome. It's such a different vibe and feel than SEC baseball. In the Pac-12, used to be such a big powerhouse, and now they're hosting a very, very strong 2 seed in Dallas Baptist, who you could say is also one of the top 2 seeds in the NCAA tournament. A very good West Virginia team with their head coach in his final hurrah, with J.J. Weatherholt, a top 10 pick in the draft, and then Grand Canyon, maybe one of the best 4 seeds and a local 4 seed. That game, that 1-4 game against Arizona Grand Canyon, is going to be sold out. It's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere, and it's going to be primetime television. It's appointment viewing television. I'm going to say it right now. Appointment viewing television. 10 p.m. starts out in Tucson, Arizona. That is the most deep and wild regional I think that we have and that we've seen in a little while, a couple of years at least. It feels like with anyone I think can win it. I think Grand Canyon has obviously the least best shot to win it, but they're gonna be loud. They're gonna be playing great. They play a lot of big teams. They had a first round pick last year. It's just up and down. It's so deep, and it's gonna be so much fun to watch. The ball is gonna fly out there. It's so exciting. So that's by far my favorite regional, most exciting and deepest, I think.
Harrison, I'm going to go with I went back and forth between I'm fascinated to see what LSU does in the Chapel Hill regional and just see if they can continue to stay hot and make a run. I'm going to go with the College Station regional, though. I think that one is so deep with Louisiana and Texas. And, I know Grambling probably won't make much noise, but I think that's going to be a really fun atmosphere. I think it's going to be a fun regional, especially if we do end up getting Texas A&M. But even if we don't, again, like I mentioned, I think Louisiana is an electric factory. I think they'll be fun to watch. I think there's a really, really good balance of pitching and hitting in that regional, so I'm excited to watch. But here's the good news, Harrison. We don't have to pick one. God bless Squeeze Play. It is your time to shine. Squeeze Play.
Quad box this week, Squeeze Play.
It is your time to shine, Squeeze Play. So thank goodness for that. Guys, that's going to do it all for us. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe on YouTube. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, we're all across social media. Of course, our website as well, secunfiltered.com for the latest from us. And again, guys, if you're going to any regionals, you need tickets, you want to save some money, especially with the prices soaring, you can do so with our friends at SeatGeek using that promo code SECU. If you don't use that promo code,
let us know what region you're going to. We want to see. We want to know.
Let us know where you're going to be. And again, if you don't use the promo code, it's okay. But you hate money because we're giving you $20. You're welcome. You know, I can
get you a couple cold beers,
a hot dog, some beers, peanuts. Whatever you want, or maybe another ticket depending on what game you're going to. Standing room only. I think I saw some at the Clemson regional. It's like $11. You could get you 2 tickets.
Well, standing room only at Tennessee's $400 right now.
Yeah, well, we might need the $200 off promo code instead of the $20 off. Either way, though, use the promo code. And again, in the comments, let us know where can we find you, what regional you go into. Enjoy the college.
Your most excited regional.
Yeah,
what you're most excited about.
Yeah,
let us know everything.
Yeah, everything. Guys, and again, enjoy the weekend of college baseball. Appreciate you all tuning in. For Harrison Fant, I'm Chris Phillips. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.